And joining me now is P. Chidambaram, senior Congress leader and someone who was involved deeply with the Congress campaign in Goa, one of the states that the Congress lost in those elections. Mr. Chidambaram, how will you respond to those who say after these 5 state election defeats, the Congress party is in terminal decline, it's facing an existential crisis? How will you respond as someone who's been with the party for close to 5 decades?
The death of the Congress party has been predicted many times in the past. I remember in 1977, it was said that the Congress party is dead, it will not be revived. So I think we should keep aside all these impromptu comments of instant experts and address the challenges that the Congress party faces, the challenges of the opposition face. I admit, in fact, the statement issued yesterday after the CWC meeting admitted that the challenges are quite grave and serious and we need to take remedial measures.
But you know, that CWC meeting also reaffirmed its faith in your party leadership, the same leadership that has led you now to defeat after defeat. 40 out of 45 elections since 2014 you've lost. No change in leadership. Are you saying, therefore, the leadership is defeat proof, that no one is responsible? You were in charge in Goa, others in other states. The Gandhis at the top, no one has to take accountability. Just vague terms like organizational weaknesses will be corrected, we will introspect. No specific solutions or conclusions.
In fact, the answer is in your question. No one person is responsible. We are collectively responsible. There were 5 general secretaries or secretaries in charge of the 5 state elections. There were senior observers. I was a senior observer in Goa. Mr. Baghel was senior observer in Uttar Pradesh. And there were many others who were involved in the elections. Therefore, all of us are collectively responsible. Who's running away? I admit my share of responsibility as far as being an observer in Goa. My colleague, Mr. Dinesh Gundurao, was the secretary in charge, and he has accepted responsibility. All that we are saying is we are collectively responsible and therefore we have to collectively find an answer.
So, when you speak of collective responsibility, there is no individual accountability. Collective responsibility means no. I'll tell you what, most observers are saying more things change, the more they remain the same. One thing that cannot change is ring fence the Gandhi family. They are defeat proof. How do you respond to critics who say that?
Nobody has ring fenced anyone. In fact, as you reported, Mrs. Gandhi said that we are willing to make any sacrifice to step aside. But then, in August, we are having an election. We are already towards the middle of March. Even if you appoint somebody today, it will be an interim president. There will be an election in August. So what is the point of replacing one interim president with another interim president? I think everybody who was gathered yesterday at the CWC recognized the futility of such a move and said, let us hold elections in August and let's elect a full-time leader for the full term. Sir, what is wrong with that?
No. What is wrong with that is that sense. Sir, what is wrong with that is that sends out the message that the Congress cannot do without the Gandhis. Whatever happens, Sonia Gandhi has filled in the breach after Rahul Gandhi resigned in 2019, and there's a sense that no one else will be allowed to lead the party. And the perception goes, this is Parivarvad, party is the family, and it's a private limited company. A grand party like the Congress has become a family party. That's the perception, and perhaps the reality.
Your entire statement of 3-4 sentences consists, 1, of cliches, and number 2, the BJP's language. So let's please keep out the cliches and the BJP's language. Let's come to the reality. The reality is we suffered a massive defeat in the 5 states. We are going to elect a full-term president in August. Between now and August, what do? Do we elect an interim president again? Therefore, everybody came to the conclusion that this is a logical decision, that you don't do anything now, you elect a full-term president in August. In the meanwhile, let's try to make the organizational changes and address the organizational weaknesses. I can't see anything illogical or irrational in that decision.
What are those weaknesses? Let's be clear. You wrote a piece yesterday which I thought was interesting. You said that people wanted change and yet voted for continuity. That is, 4 BJP governments were re-elected. And the one state where there was change, they voted for AAP. So I want to understand from you, when you say there's anti-incumbency, when there's inflation, when there has been COVID, when there has been joblessness, people still prefer to choose the BJP or choose alternatives like the Aam Aadmi Party instead of the Congress. What does this suggest to you? Is there something fundamentally wrong organizationally, ideologically, leader-wise? Where is that fundamental problem that people are choosing parties other than the Congress?
I am not questioning the legitimacy of the BJP's victory in 4 states. If you read my column yesterday carefully, I pointed out, with specific reference to Goa, 33.3% of the voters voted for the BJP. 66.6% voted against the BJP. The first group of 33.3 voted with a single mind. They had one button to press, they pressed the BJP's button. Unfortunately for us, 66.6% are not of a single mind. Bulk of them vote for the Congress, but some vote for the TMC, some vote for AAP, some vote for the Revolutionary Goan Party. Some even voted for the NCP. Now look at the number of seats in which the latter 4 parties lost their deficit. I'm giving you one example. NCP contested in 13 seats, lost deficits in 12 seats. Similarly, TMC, AAP lost deficit in most of the seats, the vast majority of the seats. Those votes were democratically cast to a democratic party. But unfortunately, those who wanted change by voting for the TMC or AAP or NCP or Revolutionary Goans ended up now voting for the continuity of the BJP. This is the point I'm making.
Sir,
you want to vote for change, but because you split your vote, you divide your vote, the result is continuity. In fact, I said it tongue-in-cheek. You spell CHANGE, but it's printed as CONTINUITY.
Sir, I take your point. No, sir, I take your point with respect to Goa, that the opposition vote got fragmented. But in Uttar Pradesh, you got 2% of the vote, even though Priyanka Gandhi Vadra contests about 100, campaign in about 170 rallies. You got defeated in Uttarakhand, where over 5 years, generally governments have changed, so you were not able to capitalize on seeming anti-incumbency. In Punjab, where you had a government, you removed your chief minister 4 months ago, you're wiped out, and the Aam Aadmi Party, which is barely a decade old, wins another state. And then even in Manipur, which was once a traditional bastion of the Congress, you were wiped out there. So the problem seems to extend beyond just the opposition vote getting fragmented. It seems people do not want to vote for the Congress because maybe you come with a lot of baggage of the past, sycophancy, corruption associated with the Congress. What is it? Is there something wrong fundamentally that you think people want to vote for anyone but Congress?
All right. Now you've got a bunch of questions, so let me answer. Are you suggesting that there is no sycophancy or corruption in the BJP? What happened in Parliament today? Was it not sycophancy to stand up in the Lok Sabha and thump the table and chant Modi? Is that not sycophancy? I'm not saying sycophancy has no place, but don't attribute sycophancy only to the Congress. Anyway, we leave that out. You mentioned 4 states. In fact, my thesis in my column yesterday is proved right in Punjab. The people voted single-mindedly to replace the Congress and vote for the AAP party. There, the first past the post system coincided with a single-minded determination of the voters. Unfortunately, in Goa, there was no single-minded determination, and the first past the post system benefited the incumbent BJP. So let's leave these two states aside. Now, Uttar Pradesh, I've always held, and I've said within the party, Uttar Pradesh is in a class in itself. The party is withered away over the years. We are trying to rebuild the party and win an election. Both don't happen at the same time. You can't rebuild a party and win an election. So whether we have rebuilt the party will be tested over the next few months and years, but you cannot rebuild the party and win an election. That's my personal confirmed view. Now in Uttarakhand, the same problem arose. The bulk of the people, 56%, voted against the BJP, but the vote was split. A significant portion of the vote was split with the AAP. In Manipur, you know what happened, unless you want to pretend what didn't happen. In 20 seats in the hills, where normally we win, where the Metis are not there, the Nagas and Kukis are there, in 20 seats, a few days before the election, a huge amount of money is given to those districts, and that changes the complete vote. And the complaint has been filed before the Election Commission. Election Commission ignores it. I believe Jairam Ramesh was mentioning yesterday that he intends to go to the Supreme Court. So leave Manipur. It's a class by itself, where official money was used when the election process was on to virtually bribe the 20 seats in Manipur. So each one is a sui generis case, and we have to discuss each case separately.
Sure. No, but
I've tried to give you my best answer.
Sure, I respect that. I respect that you're trying to analyze the situation dispassionately, but you're also will be seen to be offering alibis where often none exists. You're now in power in 2 states, in alliances in 2 others. What is the message going out? Here is the party which is seen as the premier opposition party because of its longevity, some would say, because it's a powerful national brand, but it's eroding in large parts of the country. Therefore, I come back to it. Do you concede that there is something more fundamentally wrong with the Congress, whether it's in your leadership, whether it's in your organization, whether it's in your ideology, that needs surgery? It cannot be done with Band-Aid. Do you concede that?
See, the word leadership there, which the way you use it and the way I use it are significantly different. Leadership in your lexicon or dictionary means only the Gandhis. In my dictionary, leadership means leadership at the national level, leadership at the state level, leadership at the district level, leadership at the block level. If our leadership has failed, it is because we have failed at all levels. So to that extent, I concede that our leadership requires to be rejuvenated. New leaders have to be brought in at every level, from block to the AICC level. Now, that is number one. The second question is, you say it requires surgery, not Band-Aid. I concede that. Who's denying that? In fact, the language used in yesterday's statement, which to some extent can be attributed to me, not entirely, is that we must address the organizational weaknesses and make the necessary and comprehensive changes to address the organizational weakness.
But that's been said for with due regard, sir, with due regard to you, sir, and I'm sure you drafted a part of that, that's been said for 2 decades. You've had Antony reports, you've had an Ashok Chavan report more recently. Nothing seems to change. You know, there's that French saying, the more things change, the more they remain the same. Plula change, plula mem shows, you know, nothing changes.
There goes another cliche. Now, if nothing has changed in the past, I regret it. But why do you assume that nothing will change now? We are determined, at least I am very clear in my mind, the message from yesterday's statement, the language of the leaders, the body language, the words used, the words uttered in their speeches show a new determination to address the organizational weaknesses and to make the necessary and comprehensive organizational changes. So give us a few days whether it will happen. If it happens, I can come back to you and tell you it has happened. If it doesn't happen, you can come back and tell me it hasn't happened.
Are
But
you
why
therefore telling me that
jump to a
those,
conclusion
sir, are you
in
therefore,
24?
no, but are you telling me, Mr. Chidambaram, for the critics of your party, you're saying the Gandhis are not the problem? It's unfair to put the blame on them is what you're suggesting, because the general belief is after any losing of the election, there's a call for surgery, introspection. CWC convened, Gandhis offer resignation, loyalists reject the resignation, claim they are the glue fevicol for the party, Gandhis continue to lead. You're saying that's not the way you see the situation. You see it as being a problem at every level, is it?
See, you are simply repeating yourself. I am telling you the way I read the statement, the sense I got from yesterday's CWC is we are recognizing that there is a problem at different levels of the party. I know because I'm very closely connected with the blocks in my constituency, and for 6 months I was closely connected with the blocks in Goa. There is very little leadership at the block level, at the district level, at the PCC level, and naturally, therefore, at the AICC level. Everybody who's in a leader or in a leadership position at some level has to be blamed. To that extent, I take the blame because I was an observer in Goa. To that extent, the General Secretary in charge has to take the responsibility. To that extent, Mrs. Gandhi took the responsibility and said, if you want, I will step aside. So nobody is running away from taking responsibility. Having taken responsibility, what next? What next is, I've explained, because elections are taking place in August.
Right.
We don't think there is any logic or merit in electing another interim leader for 3 months.
Does that have to be Rahul Gandhi? Does that have to be Rahul Gandhi in August? Or it can be anyone? Can someone challenge him?
I don't know. I don't know who will come. But I believe that anybody can stand for elections in August. And I hope somebody will stand for election. More than one person will stand for election. We'll wait and see.
Do you favor
Rahul
Gandhi?
Now, wait a minute.
Yes.
You're interrupting me.
Yes.
What do we do between now and August? Do we wear, as you're suggesting, sackcloth and ashes and go into mourning? That is not the answer. The answer is, please understand, millions of people have voted for us. They have not voted us back to office, but millions of people have voted for us. In Goa, they voted for us in 12 constituencies. And we lost 8 constituencies by margins of 300 to 1,600. 6 of them we lost to BJP, but very, very small margins. Anyway, I'm not getting into all those numbers now. What do we do between now and August? Between now and August, I am clearly of the view, and I believe this view is shared by many and has been communicated to the leadership, and the leadership shares the view. Between now and August, we must address the organizational weaknesses and take necessary, comprehensive organizational reforms.
Let me therefore ask you a final question. What is your response to those who will say 2024 is a done deal? Prime Minister Modi has also hinted at that the Congress is over, that this at the moment is the BJP's moment in the sun. The Congress at best will have to jostle for the opposition space, where again you have new contenders, whether it's regional parties like Trinamool or whether it's now the Aam Aadmi Party.
I do not want to dampen the optimism or the enthusiasm of Mr. Narendra Modi or his party. They're entitled to exult in their moment of victory. But remember, in 1999, Mr. Vajpayee and Mr. Advani also exulted at the end of 5 years, and they said, India shining. In 2014, the Congress party also exulted in the fact that 10 years we've been in power. We increased our number of seats from 145 in 2004 to 206 in 2009, and we will only increase it further from 205. But all these well-laid plans of men and mice came crashing down. I'm not wishing anyone or I'm not cursing anyone. I'm saying everyone is entitled to be optimistic, and naturally a winner will be exultant along with optimism. What is wrong with that?
Because I don't know what is that optimism that the Congress can latch on to at the moment. It seems that the Congress is clutching at straws at the moment because there seems to be no light at the end of the tunnel.
There goes another two cliches, clutching at straws, light at the end of the tunnel. I think you should abolish all these cliches from the English language. Now, we are facing a serious problem. Now, I'm giving you a serious answer. We face a serious problem. The statement recognizes that. We have got 3 months to set our house in order before we elect a new full-term president. I think we are determined to take determined, firm action. Whether we take it or not, give us a few days. If we take the action, we'll all be happy. You will be happy too. You don't want the death of the Congress. You certainly don't wish the demise of the Congress. The Congress is the polar opposite of the BJP. And until another national party emerges, the Congress has to play the pole. I can't see another national party emerging. There are many regional parties which are stronger than the Congress in the respective states. I concede that. But there is no national party emerging to oppose the BJP. So that role must be played by the Congress in the foreseeable future. And I look forward to playing that role through my party.
So you don't see a threat from the Aam Aadmi Party expanding? You don't see a threat from Mamata Banerjee wanting to expand, or possibly a grand reunification of the Congress Parivar, those who left your party and have done rather well, whether it's Mr. Pawar in Maharashtra or Mamata Banerjee in Bengal? You see none of that happening. It has to be only this pan-India brand called the Congress.
No, I didn't say that. No, you're introducing a completely new argument. Did I ever say that I'm opposed to all the Congress versions, all versions of the Congress getting together? I'll be very happy, personally speaking. I'll be very happy if Sharad Pawar, Mamata Banerjee, Jagan Reddy, and any other version of Congress coming back and forming the old Congress. I'll be quite happy. But whether it will happen or not, I cannot say. And personally, I'll be very happy if all of us can come together.
And you don't see the AAP as a threat? You don't see AAP as a threat?
No, your voice is breaking.
You don't see AAP as a threat?
No, I am not able to get your voice. Your audio is bad.
Do you see Aam Aadmi Party as a threat?
Oh, Aam Aadmi Party is trying to expand, and I wish them good luck. But it's not so easy to expand beyond what is the erstwhile Punjab. They have a role to play. I think the way they are growing, they have a role to play in Punjab. Maybe they can reach out into Himachal Pradesh. But they will face formidable obstacles when they go to other areas like Maharashtra, Gujarat, and they cross the Vindhyas, come to South India. Even the BJP is finding it difficult to penetrate into the South Indian states. You think it's easy for the Aam Aadmi Party to penetrate into the South Indian states? I don't wish them ill. I wish them well. But I'm only cautioning you, it's not easy to penetrate the South Indian states or easy to penetrate the Northeast. There are many, many issues there that they will face if they try to do that.
Can I ask you one yes or no direct question? Do you believe Rahul Gandhi is the right person to lead the Congress into the future?
It's not the question of my personal belief. Over 1,400 AICC members have to take that decision. And the over 1,400 AICC members will have to reflect the views of the party workers from the states and districts they come from. My vote, if there is a vote, if there are two contestants, my vote will be a secret vote like anybody else's vote. So what will 1,400 AICC members representing their constituents, their workers, will vote in August, I cannot say. But whoever is voted in August is the leader of the Congress party.
You don't see him as a fifth-generation dynast who comes with all the baggage of the past?
You see, there is a baggage of the past, nobody says. But the baggage of the past doesn't come as only a bag of stones or sand. The past baggage has glorious achievements. Are you suggesting that Motilal Nehru and Jawaharlal Nehru and Indira Gandhi did not make a glorious contribution to India? The BJP can forget it. How can an anchor of a news channel forget it?
No, there is a new India, sir, which is 50% of it is born after 1992. You need to address that India.
I agree. I have a granddaughter who's 21, and I know she thinks differently from me, and that it is her right to think differently. But that doesn't mean I should blame the entire past as baggage. I mean, you forget all the great contributions made by various Congress leaders, including the Gandhi Nehrus. There are many other leaders, Sardar Patel, Subhash Chandra Bose.
Sir, New India needs a new narrative. New India needs a new narrative, Mr. Chidambaram.
Absolutely, which is why I'm saying, people of my age must step back, step aside, and allow young people to come.
Okay.
I have recommended for several months, and I've repeated it today, that the CWC must be reconstituted, and at least 1/3 of the CWC must consist of young, new faces who have never been in the CWC before. The CWC has about 23 members.
Right.
At least 1/3 must be young, energetic leaders who have never been in the CWC before. That is my view.
Okay. And I presume that the definition of young is those in their 30s and 40s, not in their 50s and 60s.
I agree. Okay. I would be very happy if there are at least 5 or 6 people in their 30s. I'll be very happy if there are 5 or 6 people in their 40s. And I'll be very happy if there are 5 or 6 people in their 50s. Okay. And the remaining can be in the 60s.
Okay. You're calling, therefore, effectively for a generational change in the Congress party. You've given us lots of news points of what you believe is the road ahead. Clearly, we need a strong opposition. A democracy cannot function without a strong, vibrant opposition. Whether the Congress can play that role, we'll wait and see. But I appreciate, Mr. Chidambaram, you taking your time off. And I'm glad that...
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
One thing at the end.
Yes.
Just as we fight that the free media, independent media, has a critical role to play in a democracy, you in the media must recognize that a national party, apart from the BJP, the only other truly national party with a national footprint, has a role to play in a democracy. While I acknowledge your role, despite your drawbacks, you must acknowledge our role despite our drawbacks.
Fair enough, Mr. Chidambaram. We can have a full discussion on the media on another day. But for now, our focus was on the Congress party and its various crises that it's faced. Reports of my death are grossly exaggerated, is what Mark Twain said. Is that true of the Indian National Congress? Only time will tell. Another cliche for Mr. Chidambaram. Only time will tell. Appreciate your joining us and taking the time off, Mr. Chidambaram. Always good when people come even after they lose elections, not just the winners.